What's up everyone, today we'll be taking a look at the newly released Toxapex in the Open Great League. Toxapex has a water poison typing, just like Tentacruel, but it is much tankier than Tentacruel. It has bulk comparable to that of Azumarill, Umbreon and Mandibuzz, which is just ridiculously tanky. Its moveset does hold it back a little bit though. It has Poison Jab as a fast move, which is really good, but then as cheapest charge move, it has Brine, which is a very below average water move, which already costs 50 energy, and then as other charge moves, I can either run Sludge Wave or Gunk Shot, which are good moves, but quite expensive. So that makes Toxapex a very slow charging tank, which is not ideal, but still, even with that moveset, it is absolutely amazing. It's probably the hardest battle Azumarill will ever see. Besides that, it does really well versus all other fairy types, fire types, most grasses, most fighting types, and it's an absolute monster in the neutral matchups. It's even able to beat Pokemon like Altaria, Umbreon, and Lickitung in some even shield scenarios, which is incredible for a Pokemon that's doing neutral and taking neutral. Usually to beat those Pokemon with neutral damage, you gotta resist them, but Toxapex does it without even resisting their moves, which is just a testament to its power. Anyway, let's get into these battles. I'll be trying out several different teams today versus some friends, because of course Global League is currently not on Great League, so thank you very much Inadequance, Esmodel and Matthew for helping me out. Showcasing some battles here. First game, I led Toxapex into Machamp, which is a pretty good matchup, even though Machamp can hit you with super effective Psychic. Toxapex still wins that. I have two better answers in the back though, so I switch in my Sableye, and unfortunately I have an Alolan Ninetales in the back, which is really not good. But I'm actually going to shield this, and I should be able to flip this matchup now, which is quite nice. I'm expecting a Lickitung in the back, because that's extremely common with Machamp lead, Alolan Ninetales in the back, and I really don't want that to land on my Runerigus, because that's just a terrible matchup. A flip switch. Bring in my Runerigus versus Machamp now. They can hit me with the super effective Ice Punches, but Runerigus is extremely tanky, so I should be able to take two even and get to the Shadow Ball before they get to the third, which, if they decide to shield that up, I'm just going to trust in Toxapex to sweep. But you're going to see, I'm going to throw the Shadow Ball here. Make sure I throw in the middle of their animation too, so they can't catch. And if this goes, and well, this is actually going to go through, and it's not going to be a Lickitung in the back, it's going to be a Walrein, which is kind of hard for Toxapex. Toxapex actually is a decent matchup here if you can bait, since you actually survive on Earthquake, and the Sludge Wave does a ton versus them. And I get my first bait, but they have two shields, so I'm gonna have to get another bait here if I want to win this. And I think I'm gonna have to call an Icicle Spear here or shield up an Earthquake. If I shield up an Icicle Spear here, they're definitely gonna reach the Earthquake, but I expect them to just go for it. And they do, shield up the Earthquake, and now I should be able to reach the Sludge before they reach the next Earthquake. Does this knock them out? I think it will. Toxapex has very low attack, but not that low attack, so it takes him out. GG's. Next game, we see my Shadow Swampert lead into their Azumarill. This is a pretty even matchup, but definitely not ideal, since with Azumarill lead, there's probably some Toxapex answers in the back. But we'll see if it can do some work there. I'm gonna throw the Earthquake into the Trevenant. That was definitely not the play. And now I should have realized, I probably should have brought in Toxapex right there. I wanted to save my Toxapex for the Azumarill, because I kind of need it there now. But it's probably Sableye in the back, because that's a pretty common team. However, if it's Sableye in the back, usually you don't pivot Trevenant. That's why I wasn't really expecting that. And I was also able to farm down the Trevenant there without using the shield, without taking a Shadow Ball, where Toxapex would have probably needed to take a Shadow Ball, which is not ideal either. Anyway, if it's Sableye, I hope Toxapex can still bring it low enough to where my Swampert can maybe finish it off. But we'll see. Anyway, to go for the Ice Beam there, I can bring in my Toxapex now. I gotta wait at my timer though, since we are misaligned. I don't want them to be able to switch out without me being able to switch out. And it is the Sableye in the back. We're gonna hit this with a Brine. Not before they hit this with a Foul Play though. This is gonna do no damage. Look at that. That is crazy. It's insane how bulky Toxapex is, but that comes at a cost, because this Brine really doesn't do anything as well. I switched in my Swampert here, hoping to get to the Hydro. Hoping to get a 2 actually, but I had no energy, and, well, the Shadow Calls do too much. Honestly, I should not have brought in... I probably should not have brought it in at that point, because, well, they just gave the Sableye more farm. I probably should have stayed in with Toxapex a little longer, until I had like thrown a couple moves at it already, like taken both shields maybe. But I was worried that if I didn't switch already, then they could have brought in the Azumarill versus my Swampert later, which is also not ideal. Anyway, the Azumarill comes back in now. I thought this was a mistake by them, because I could have farmed all the way down, but no, they actually get to the Ice Beam, which means I'm now in foul play range, and unfortunately, they are there right now on the CMP tie. Even Toxapex won't be able to tank this, so this is game over. Kanto Sandslash lead into my Toxapex. This is not great since they reach the Earthquake at the same time as my Brine, so I'm actually gonna try to catch it, and we do catch it on Sableye, except it's not an Earthquake, it's a Rock Tomb. Not ideal because it drops my attack and they bring in a Swallow, which is really bad for my Sableye. My opponent playing quite a spicy team, which unfortunately just happens to completely hard counter me. I'm very curious to see what they have in the back. Hopefully it's not a hard counter from Rodriguez. Anyway, I'm just going to let the Sky Attack go on my Sableye. I could have gotten the foul play off there, taking a shield, but if I do that, they can farm down my Sableye with Swallow and have a bunch of energy to throw at my Toxapex, which is actually the mistake they are making now. Because they shielded that, now I'm going to be able to farm down and have energy on the Toxapex to hit the Sandslash. I think my opponent would have been better off just letting the Swallow go and saving shield for Sandslash whilst my Toxapex is still energy dry. Anyway, that Brine does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. I'm going to try to catch another move soon, I think. Actually, let this go. Since they're running Rock Tomb, I'm expecting Rock Tomb Night Slash instead of Earthquake. And it doesn't seem like they have Earthquake, since I threw another Rock Tomb there. I switched to my Rodriguez for a Sandslash. First Sandslash after that, they bring in a Drapion, so we are pretty hard counter there. Not too good, but Rodriguez extremely tanky. I should be able to take a crunch, get to another Sand Tomb, hopefully take a shield, and then maybe brine this Drapion. Yeah, we get to the Sand Tomb here. This won't knock him out, but we'll bring him in Shadow Claw down range, so they got a shield. Now, I just let Rodriguez go. I'm not going to outpace this Drapion to another move. Aquatil 2, so I'm really hoping they don't have 2, and they don't. I get to the Brine, and now I think I should barely be able to take out the Sandslash. There are resisted poison jabs though, so I won't be doing that much, but I do manage to farm them down before they get the 2 moves. GG's. Deoxys versus my Shadow Swamp, pretty neutral lead. Kinda want to get my Sableye in here at some point though, because both Toxapex and Sableye here do better than Swampert. So I throw at 8, not expecting them to CMP tie with me actually. I was kind of expecting them to throw a Psycho Boost at 10 or 9, hoping to catch that, but they actually CMP tie with me on 8, which is not ideal because I kind of don't want to take a Psycho Boost on my Swampert, so shoot it up. They bring in a Warren afterwards, which is quite awkward. This team is not great versus Warren. Toxapex does decent, so I bring it in there. I no-shoot this as well. And this Earthquake does a lot, but it doesn't even bring me into the red, which is crazy. I just go for the Sludge Wave here, not wanting them to no-shield a Brine, because it would do absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, they shield it up. That means they can farm up quite a bunch here. Throw right before my Brine. Done so much damage with the Poison Jabs, though. It's actually kind of surprising how much damage I did with the Poison Jabs. That's much more than I expected. That brings him into a range where a Hydro Cannon knocks him out, so that's kind of ideal. So we'll take him out by Walrein. What do I have in the back? I'm expecting Umbreon, but it's an Altaria, which is not great for the combination of Swampert and Sableye, though Sableye should be able to deal with it after a Hydro here. After like some Shadow Claws, a Foul Play should be able to knock out. Still have to watch out for the Deoxys though. It's still alive. It still has like 3 counters worth of energy. So if it gets to a Rock Slide versus my Sableye later, it could be quite painful. Gonna go for a move here. I'm expecting them to catch, but I also don't really care, since I just take out the Deoxys then. And then the Altaria has to throw my Sableye, and if they do, my Swampert should be able to take out. But my opponent overfarms much more than I expected here, which means they might actually reach another Sky Attack before I can reach the Hydro. However, yeah, we end up lagging here. The Sky Attack is gonna do nothing, and then they just stand still, as you can see, but yeah, I take them out. I don't know if they were... I think they were barely not going to reach a Sky Attack there, but they might have. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're here for the Toxapex showcase, and Toxapex did pretty decent there, first of all, right, I'd say. Next game, Kanto Ninetales into my Swampert. That's a very good lead for me. I love the shiny too. It's kind of confusing, because at first I was like, wow, that's a weird Alola Ninetales, but it's Kanto. It's a slightly different look. Anyway, Sableye came in. This is fine for Swampert, since I had pace. So Just gonna go for another Hydro right before the next foul play. I'm a shield down now, which is not ideal, and I definitely have an answer to Swampert in the back, which ends up being a Ferrothorn, I believe. Normally it's Trevenant, which will be very fine, but yeah, it's a Ferrothorn, which is quite tough, since Ferrothorn can also be Toxapex. I really didn't want my Swampert to get farmed down, though, because then the Ferrothorn can probably just sweep my Sableye too, as do I have so much energy left after that matchup. So I just switched in my Sableye, my only answer really. Hope to do some damage here, so that Swampert and Toxapex can take it out later with some teamwork. In comes the Ninetales again to farm down my Sableye. Get to the return first though. It will do so much damage. Probably put it into a range where my Toxapex can farm down now. I didn't really want to take a move on my my Swampert, so that's why I didn't bring in the Swamp. Bring in my Toxapex, farm it down, it's overheat, does nothing. It does nothing. It's wild. It's wild. In comes the Ferrothorn now. I'm expecting this to probably be a Thunder, but I still no shield it because it does nothing. It really does nothing. I go for the Sludge Wave. This resisted, so it's also going to do nothing, but might put it into a range where a Hydro Cannon knocks out. That should be a range where Hydro Cannon knocks out, which is real cool. I'll let this go. Bring in my Swamp. Maybe I shouldn't have not let this go, actually. Because maybe I could have reached. Maybe I could have reached a move. Anyway, we're going to go for Hydro. A one-off. Another Hydro here. And at this point, it's kind of got to be lucky. Sometimes you get this move, sometimes you don't. Usually you don't, honestly. I got a little lucky here. Get on my Hydro. We win the game. I guess I take that, GG's. Altaria lead into Trevenant is far from ideal, but fine-ish. Go for the Shadow Ball versus this Altaria just to get it low. I'm running double Poison Water in the back. Bring in the Tentacruel here because I need to lure out the Toxapex answer, which comes in right now. It's the Registeel. I noticed now my Tentacruel was the wrong moveset. For the first 2 games with this team, I was running Hydro Pump instead of Scald, just because I forgot the TM. But it actually comes in kind of handy here because Hydro Pump does a lot of damage. So let this move go. It'll take me out. Bring in my Trevenant now. I know my opponent here, Nanquins, ran Flash Cannon in a tournament he did, so I'm actually expecting him to still have Flash Cannon on his Registeel. So I shoot it up very wisely, because that would have knocked me out, and now I should be able to just barely farm down the Registeel, which I do. I'm expecting the Altaria to come back in with the energy and throw it immediately, so I catch the move on my Toxapex. This does, like, that's just no damage. And in comes the Toxapex. Toxapex does a neutral, or resist it with the counters, but super effective with the mud bombs. Generally, this is actually a matchup you win in the 1s and the 2s. But because I'm a shield down, already have taken some damage, this is definitely not ideal. A Brine is gonna do nothing, much less than a Shadow Ball, so let's it go. And I don't reach another one before another mud bomb. I'm just hoping my Trevenant can sweep at this point, though the Altaria is quite low, basically in Seed Bomb range. Toxapex also in Seed Bomb range. I'm just gonna throw it immediately. My opponent actually ends up shielding here, which I feel like might be a bit of a mistake. Oh, actually, no, I'm still kind of healthy. Yeah, actually, I'm still kind of healthy. I would have Shadow Clawed down the Altaria. During the game, I was like, he probably should no-shield that and just Dragon Breath me down. But no, this is actually just smart play. Since, actually, maybe he shouldn't have shielded. I don't think I reached the 3rd Seed Bomb. It's still going to be close, though. It's still going to be close. But I barely don't get countered down. Alright, Trevenant versus Dragonite is definitely not ideal. Again, we come in with the Hydro Pump Tentacruel versus this Dragonite. I'm just gonna take the Dranglow and bring in an Empoleon, which is definitely not great for me. Go for the Hydro Pump. Pretty sure it's called. I could have gotten to 2, which would have been kind of nice, but doesn't end up happening. Anyway, we go into the Trevenant now. Gonna take the first Drill Peck. They came in with Empoleon versus Tentacruel, which is like not the hardest answer, so I'm hoping whatever is in the back is kind of weak to Toxapex. Well, you're gonna see, it's not really. But anyway, we farm down the Empoleon with Trev. I bring in my Toxapex versus Dragonite. Honestly, I thought this thing was lower health, so I didn't want to waste an entire Shadow Ball on it. But it's actually still quite healthy, so I can't farm it down before the Dragon Claw. And then comes a Registeel. Yeah, this is really bad. This is if I would have faced this in Go Battle League, I would have already hit the exit button right now. But, you know, we're trying out Toxapex. Let's just see how close we can get. These Brines aren't doing much, but we've already brought Registeel on almost 50% health, which, I mean, that's kind of an achievement. We shoot up a Zap. Now my tech drops, which is definitely far from ideal, but I can switch into my Trevenant, go for a Seed Bomb, take a shield, then hopefully get to the Shadow Ball, take another shield. But they actually throw the move before I can get there, which is unfortunate. At this point, another Brine won't knock him out, and he's gonna get to the move before I can get to 2 or 3 even. So I try to sludge him, to sludge the Seal type, just for fun. But my opponent shows the absolute disrespect and switched into the Dragonite. Sad. Well, GG's. We get taken out here. That is a good game though. It's a very good game. Trevenant into Obstagoon. This is far from ideal, so I bring in my Tentacruel, because that is my pivot in this Tentacruel Toxapex line. Honestly, kind of a mistake that I should have honestly switched Toxapex. I think in general, Tentacruel is a slightly better pivot, just because you have Spray, you have Scald, which is nice. However, I'm playing versus opponents that know I'm bringing in Toxapex. So, you know, now they know my full line. If I would have just switched in Toxapex, they wouldn't have known all 3 of my Pokemon, which is an advantage. But yeah, it's not really gonna matter in this game. Also, I didn't throw my Scald there because I'm stupid, but yeah, you're gonna see what they have in their back, and it's not great. But I think Toxapex actually did better in that matchup than I expected. Anyway, we're gonna get rid of the Skarmory. Here comes the Obstagoon again. I kind of want to chip this. Honestly, I'm hoping they shield up a move, but I mean, they know. They know what I have in the back. So why would they, right? Why would they? Anyway, we're gonna go for another Seed Bomb. This will bring him quite low. Bring in the Toxapex, and in comes a Nidoqueen, which is a pretty good counter for Toxapex, but we do have the Brines. We do have the Brines. One definitely won't knock out. I'm really hoping they let one go here, actually. I really want to see what it does, and they do, which is quite nice. Look at that damage. That's bad, but not that bad. It's better than I expected. It's better than I expected. We brought it into the yellow. I'm going to take the Earth Power. It doesn't even knock me out. That's how bulky Toxapex is. That Shadow Nidoqueen Earth Power didn't even knock me out. We brought it into the red. This point, game is definitely over. So I'm going to let this go. And that's our GG. But yeah, that was the final battle of the day. Final verdict on Toxapex. I think it's extremely good. It's super, super tanky. So it did amazing in all the neutral matchups and had some pretty good winning matchups too. However, it can get very, very hard walled by steel and the ground types. So it's a bit rock, paper, scissors, I'd say, just like a Bastiodon, but get in the right spot and it can really destroy. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. See you next one. Good luck, you pick your battle trainers.